Hi, I'm going to read one of the pieces I wrote a couple years ago. It's called All You Need Is Love. I love you. For every time I've either said the words or heard them directed toward me, I can honestly say that in retrospect, each experience has left me more baffled than the last. Historically, the term has gone through several incarnations. A few of these have endured, mostly in the annals of cultural lore. Eros, Philios, Agape, to name a familiar few. Strangely, the Mediterranean region seems to have a corner on its multiple expressions. I say this because one only has to observe the social coastline of that sea to find more versions of alleged love than ever found their place in a Harlequin romance novel. Privately, I have reached this tentative conclusion. Love has no fixed definition beyond that which is expressed in the way one person makes another feel. Once we recognize and feel that we are loved by someone else, then we know what love is. We really can't say we love another other than ourselves until that other person tells us emphatically, "Yes, you love me. I know this because I feel loved by you." Civilized society has always taught that love is a very powerful emotional force, a state to be sought after and nurtured. But if love is so powerful, why isn't its force self-sustaining? Why? We adore babies. Most of us are drawn to wrap ourselves around them and give them our all. Love for helpless children born in healthy adults seems automatic. But the care of babies is a consummate effort and requires a level of devotion which challenges even the most convinced. I imagine that parental love as children grow to adulthood is an extension of that automatic attachment which is born at the child's birth. As such, children who are wrestling into emerging adults often do not feel loved by their parents because their parents' love for them is still infantile, locked in the automatic phase of parental attachment. The Greeks have a word for that too, and I wonder if its definition is also fixed. Does love grow? What about it does the growing? Does being drawn to another increase over time, and by what criteria? This sounds clinical, I know. How is it that we can feel more or less loved by another as we move from the present to the future? Perhaps rather than actually growing, the feeling that we are loved merely changes in dimension, and that according to our perception of ourselves and others. Lately, I have been speculating that parental love for children does not move in tandem with the child's growth. I think it arrests, causing all sorts of problems for the children. Parents who are mindful, however, learn to adjust their behavior in order to permit their children the necessary growth. But their feelings toward the children remain in that infantile state. And this brings me to the first point I want to make clear. Human need is paramount. And it's interesting because, as an aside, I've been watching Alain de Botton's lectures on the subject. And he has boiled it down to need. We need somebody else. Need is so huge, so great in its capacity to render us vulnerable, that I sometimes wonder if it masquerades as love. We've all known strong attraction. The first time such chemistry overwhelms us, we clamor to define it for ourselves. Surely we must be in love. We read about it somewhere in a book by Grace Livingston Hill. And the object of our attraction, if and when that person turns toward us, moving toward us, allows us to be utterly taken by the belief that we are loved in return. Or maybe we simply don't care. Just the realization that the object of our desire has rewarded our attraction with a response is more than enough. This must be love. We'll take it. But is it need? When we have a gaping need, a need to be appreciated, a need for physical affection, a need for comfort, a need for company, whatever the need, and somebody appears, bringing even a fleeting imitation of our notion of love, wanting to become attached to us in some way, we seize upon that person, eagerly expecting to be loved. And when two people with similar gaping need converge, they might very well convince themselves that they love each other. So many humans couple up under all the conditions described above and any number of various corollaries of that which is described above. And all these couples think that they love each other. And then they proceed to live. And as they live, they grow. But each of them grows at a different rate. One may cease growing completely for a time, while the other may have a huge growth spurt. Whichever the case, the two people who think that they love each other eventually find themselves at odds. Their notions of love have all fallen away, and they are left confused and disappointed. Yet the needs remain, and the desire for the feeling of being loved remains too. And so they reach for the nearest living being willing to provide what they need most immediately. Pets, dogs, cats, children, artistic endeavor. Everybody finds somebody or something that brings them emotional satisfaction. It's easy for me to feel loved by music, or art, or poetry, or dance, or drama. Dogs, even children, when they are young and dependent. I can't begin to defend my failures in the loving people department. All I can do is observe others and draw conclusions, and identify those who make me feel loved by their actions. I think that any parent possessing an unfulfilled need will attach to his or her child in an attempt to get that need met. Perhaps it is a need for appreciation, or acknowledgement, or affirmation, or affection, or emotional attachment, any or all of the above. If, for example, a father is physically absent, a mother may attach to her child all the attributes of love-worthiness. She transfers her affections from the object of her desire to the object of her devotion. And another father, perhaps his wife is physically withholding. He becomes notably affectionate toward the child who is most accessible. The child in this equation develops a notion of love that is informed and colored by his or her parents' behavior. And perhaps more importantly, the child develops a response which casts its own hue. In families with more than one child, each child, according to birth order, develops his or her own notions of love. Firstborn children may grow to expect to be loved by entitlement and treat others according to that expectation. Secondborn children might grow to perceive that love is a feeling bestowed upon an elder sibling first, and learn to observe the process of love without allowing themselves the opportunity to directly experience it. Such children may become able to counsel others in matters of love, while being removed from the feeling of being loved, or grow to defer the feeling as if somehow someone else should always be first in line to receive it. Youngest children may grow to believe that love comes automatically with the territory, so to speak, due to being immersed in an environment of general acceptance and affection. Perhaps such children have a more difficult time with notions of monogamy, being more comfortable in an atmosphere of collective love, remembering that the whole family is there to provide love.